Okay, so I had some questions on the review. Here is one of them, number 13. Okay, so 13 looks like this. It is f of x is equal to 4x to the 2/3 power, and g of x is equal to 3x to the 2/3 power. So we have to do two things. We have to find f of x plus g of x and f of x minus g of x. So f of x plus g of x looks like this. F of x is 4x to the 2/3 power plus g of x, which is 3x to the 2/3 power. Since they're both x to the 2/3 power, they are like terms, so I can add them. And I get 7x to the 2/3 power. All right. And then f of x minus g of x. So I have 4x to the 2/3 power minus 3x to the 2/3 power. Again, they're like terms, so I can subtract them. 4 minus 3 gives me 1x to the 2/3 power. All right, so that was number 13. The next one was number 14. All right, number 14. We got f of x is equal to 2x to the 1/4 power, and g of x is equal to 2x to the 1/3 power, and we got to do f of x times g of x. All right, so here it is. So I got 2x to the 1/4 power plus times 2x to the 1/3 power. All right, so we're multiplying. So I got to do 2 times 2. That gives me 4. And then with these, when their bases are the same, we got to add the exponents. All right, so I'm going to do this off to the side. So I have x to the 1/4 power plus 1/3 power. So to add these together, you need a common denominator. The common denominator is going to be 12. So we have x, and that's going to be a 12, and then this is going to be a 12. Well, we had to multiply the 4 times the 3 to get 12, so we got to multiply the top by 3. And 3 times 1 gives us 3. The 1/3, we have to multiply the 3 by 4 to get 12. So that means we got to multiply the top by 4. So I got 3/12 plus 4/12, which gives me 7/12. And that is number 14. All right. Number 18. Number 18. I have x to the 5/2 power equals 32. All right. So we're trying to solve for x. All right. To solve it for x, to get rid of this exponent, you have to take it to the reciprocal power, meaning you have to flip this. So I have to do its 5/2, so I got to take it to the 2/5 power. And again, whatever we do to one side of the equation, we have to do the other side. 2/5 power. All right. So these cancel each other out, which is why we did that. So it gives me x all by itself. And then if I put in the calculator 32 to the 2/5 power, it's going to give me 4. All right. And again, put it in the calculator. You type 32 and then do that up arrow. And then you would do a parenthesis. And then you would do 2 divided by 5, and then end your parenthesis and hit enter. And if you do that, you'll get 4. All right, 19. 19, we have x to the 1/3 power minus 2/5 equals 0. So we're going to have to add 2/5 to both sides. So now I got x to the 1/3 equals 2/5. And now we have to get rid of this 1/3 power. Again, I got to do the reciprocal. So again, I just got to flip it. So flipping it makes it a 3. And again, I do it to the 3rd power, 3/1. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other side. So these cancel out. So I just get x equals 2/5 to the 3rd power. I distribute to both. So it gives me 2 to the 3rd, 5 to the 3rd. 2 to the 3rd is 8. 5 to the 3rd is 125. So I get 8 over 125. All right, number 20. Number 20. I have 4x to the 3/4 power equals 108. All right. Again, I'm trying to solve it for this. I have to get rid of this 4 first. All right. Again, you got to isolate this first. So we have to get rid of this 4. So we divide by 4. Divide by 4. I get x to the 3/4 power equals 27. 108 divided by 4 is 27. All right. Now we got to get rid of that 3/4 power. So again, reciprocal power. So I have to do the 4/3 power. 4/3 power. So 4/3 and 3/4 cancel each other out. So I get x equals, and then in the calculator again, do 27 to the 4 divided by 3 power and hit enter, and you will get 81. All right. So that was to 20. All right. Now I got 21. 21. We have the third root of x plus 10 equals 16. So again, we got to isolate this that has the cube root. So I got to get rid of this 10. So minus 10, minus 10. So I got the third root of x equals 6. Now we got to get rid of the third root. The opposite of third root is third power. So I have to cube this. And again, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So this cancels out that, and I get x equals 6 cubed, and 6 to the third power is 216. All right, 22. 22, I have the fourth root of 2x minus 13 equals negative 9. Again, we have to isolate this, all right? Isolate that has the root to it. So this isn't under the root, so I have to move it first. So I add 13, add 13. I got the fourth root of 2x equals 4. Now we got to get rid of this 4. All right, that fourth root, and again, the opposite of fourth root is fourth power. So we have to take this side to the fourth power, and whatever we do to one side, we have to do the other side. So both sides. Now this fourth power undoes the fourth root, so it leaves me with 2x equals 4 to the fourth power. 4 to the fourth power gives me 256. Then I just have to divide by 2. Divide by 2, and I get x equals 128. All right, 23. 23, I have the square root of 6x minus 5 plus 10 equals 3. All right. So again, we have to isolate this, which has a square root. So I subtract 10. All right, and I get the square root of 6x minus 5 equals negative 7. Now, realistically, you can stop right there. That's what I did on the notes. I stopped right there because we can never get the square root of anything to be equal to a negative. All right. If you continue this and you solve it, the answer you're going to get is going to be extraneous. All right. But if you continued on, you would square both sides, and then you get 6x minus 5 equals 49. You would add 5, and it gives us 6x equals 54. Divide by 6, and you get x equals 9. But you're going to find that that 9 is an extraneous solution. If you put it back in there, it's not going to work. All right, it's not going to work in this, because if you put it in there, it won't make this side equal to 3. All right, so just remember you have extraneous solutions on this. All right, so that was 23. All right, next one was 1B on the application. So 1B. All right, so the information we have is we're doing a deposit of $1,600. We're going to find the balance after 3 years. All right, and then for B, the information is the interest rate is 1.75%, and it's compounded quarterly. All right, quarterly. So that's all the information we need. So remember our formula. Formula is A equals P 1 plus R over N to the NT power. So now we got A equals P, that's the principal, that's your deposit. So that's 1,600. 1 plus R is the interest rate, but we have to change it to a decimal. So this rate is 1.75%, which we move it over 2 places would be 0.0175. All right, so 0.0175 over N. Now N is the number of compoundings. When it's compounded quarterly, that means that N is equal to 4, or you're paid interest 4 times per year. All right, think of a quarterly as being like $1. How many quarters are there in $1? Well, there are 4. All right, so that means N is 4, and that's the NT power. So it's going to be 4 times T, and T is the time in years, and that's 3. All right, so that is our equation. The only thing we could do is clean up that, and we would make it A equals 1,600, 1 plus 0.0175 over 4 to the 12th power. All right, and then I would break out the calculator. All right, so just put it in the calculator and go backwards in here. So this is what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to start in the parentheses. I'm going to start with this 0.0175. I'm going to divide it by 4, and I'm going to hit enter. Then I'm going to do the add 1, hit enter. Then I'm going to do to the 12th power, so to the 12th power, hit enter. And then I'm going to go times 1600 and enter. And then I have my answer. All right. And again, we truncate this because that's what the banks would do. So it's 1686.05. All right. And that was 1B. And then the other one was 2A. All right, 2A is just our formula. All right. So 2A, we're just doing the formula. The formula we're using is this. Y equals A 1 minus R to the T power. All right, so we got Y equals, A is the original amount, and that's the amount that the car was worth, so that would be $22,000. 1 minus the rate. All right, the rate is 12.5%, so we have to change it to a decimal. All right, they give you the rate. 12, we have to change it to a decimal, move it over 2 places, so it gives us 0.125. 0.125, and that is to the T power, and this one we're just writing the model, so that stays as a T. Now, the only thing I would do to clean this up is I would do this. I would do 1 minus 0.175, and we get Y equals 22,000. 1 minus 0.125 is 0.875, and that's to the T power, and that would be your simplified answer. Remember, if you give me this answer, you don't get full credit, because you can do that. All right.